Well, good morning. It sure is good to see all of you that are here and all of you that are joining us online. So we're in this series about just a different kind of church. And so as we kind of talk about being a different kind of church and what makes a church different, I want you to think about the different ways that people think about life itself, the different perspectives. In fact, I want to talk about two perspectives in particular that we often run up against in religion or in church, and there can be this kind of tug-of-war between them. On one side, there's kind of this view that views life in a very positive way, and like overtly positive. Like everything is good, everything needs to be good, because if God is good, then life has got to be good. And you feel the tug that you need to be this way, and everything needs to be this way. There's one lady that I know, and we've had discussions going on now for years about this, and she has this very positive way of taking it. She will often quote Jesus in this, and she goes, listen, Jesus said, take heart because I've overcome the world. And so if I've overcome the world, everything that you face, like it's all good. But she takes it to this place where if anything, if there's a ruffle in anything or something gets difficult, like she doesn't like that because it doesn't fit this kind of view she's got. I kind of have fun with it every once in a while. I'll see her, and if she has like a cold or something, I'm like, so like, are you sick? Oh no, I'm not sick at all. It's fine. Jesus has overcome the world. And so it's like, and she actually takes it to this place where troubling things trouble her because it's like, no, it all needs to be this way. But it goes to this place that I can't go to, right? So like she had a grandson that needed to have surgery. And she felt like, no, like if we just pray about this, if we have faith, he won't need to have surgery. But what she didn't realize she was doing in that moment is what she was saying is to her grandson, there's not space for you, right? Like if you don't pray about, if you end up having surgery, then somehow like, right, you didn't match this view. And I can, she's always trying to pull me to this thing, like you're really centered in Jesus. And I'm like, you know what? I can't go there because I feel like it's not real, right? Because so for me, and I'm a very positive guy, right? Like I'm the glass is half full kind of guy. But you know what? There's still moments in life where things are difficult. I still have moments in life where it's a struggle, and it's just like, if you keep pulling me into this, I can't go there because it doesn't match real life for me. I can't go there in that. And I'm sure some of you have felt that in different ways with being pulled in that direction. And sometimes it just feels like it's using faith to avoid hard things. And I don't want my faith to be used just to avoid hard things. Now, this tug-of-war though, there are times when we feel the tug on the other side because, right, there'll be times there's this view that looks at life and it says, listen, we actually absolutely need to acknowledge that there is suffering in life and that there is sin. And as human beings, we have a sin nature and all these struggles and all of these problems. And it wants to embrace a view of life that just like holds on to this. For a long time, there was one guy that was here at the church and just clamped onto this view. And there was probably a good 3-month period where he kept trying to pull me into this. Like it was almost after every single message, he'd come back and he says, listen, you've got to tell them more about like, this is what sin does. And they need to know that there are people that are trying to tempt them with these things and this, because he had this view, right? That everything out there in the world, in life is bad, right? It's a world that is depraved and fallen. And so he kind of took on this thing that if it's not of God, then it is against us. We're at war with the world is what he would literally tell me, right? We're at war with the world. And and if you're not with God, then like you're against God. And if you're and it's just like, man, you keep talking about this world out there that we have to fight. Like, and when he would pull me into this, I felt like a army recruiter was pulling me into this thing. But I always just remember feeling like I hear you using words about the world out there. But that world out there is made up of some people that I really care about. And I'm not fighting them. And I sure don't see God at war with them. I can't go with you to this place because this doesn't seem real either. And so there's this kind of tug-of-war between views of how do you view life? And I'm sure some of you have felt that tug-of-war at times. You have felt that pull. And maybe you felt it because there was someone that was saying things and you're like, wow, okay, I hear what you're saying there. You're quoting a Bible verse or you're talking about something you saw. And you feel that tug, but I bet at other times you've also, you felt this thing where it's like, there's something about it that just doesn't line up with reality. Don't ask me to pretend that something is a way that it's not. And don't ask me to just see the whole world and everyone who isn't with me in a one-dimensional way that now I must control or fight or be against. See? And we've probably all had moments where we've felt that the tug-of-war on this. And when I think about what's happening with so many people that are leaving churches today, I think there's a part of it that is this, not all of it, but I think there's an element of this that is true. Because when you're in a religion that has no room for the truth of you either find yourself having to fake it or you have to leave. If you're in a religion or a church that keeps trying to say, you have to come over here, and you're like, but my life has some complexity to it. You end up having to make this choice about will I fake it or am I going to get pushed out? And the same thing happens on this side. That is, you feel that tug of war and church or religion starts pulling you to have this attitude towards the world and this fight and control thing. And it's like, but I think the world is more nuanced than this. The world isn't one-dimensional. There's people that are struggling and trying to figure this out, and I see goodness in the world, and I see the bad. But you're making it all bad, and you're turning me against something that in my heart, I feel like Jesus is asking me to be for, to minister to. And yet, there's this tug-of-war that just wants to pull us in one of these two directions. And I think what we need more of are churches that find this way, that allow people the space to be human, to actually go through some struggles, to have the space to struggle when things are difficult, and to have space to have the struggle when it feels like things are going wrong, and not to ignore when things are bad or difficult in this. And here's the beautiful thing about all this, is that when we begin to look at Jesus and his life, he models, I think, a way of actually standing in the tension of that tug-of-war. That Jesus is someone that was always finding space for people to be real. And I want to walk through one story, and I'm not even going to walk through the whole story. There's an element of this story that I want you to see. I was actually going to go through 2 or 3 stories and then realize there's not enough time for that. And then it's so I'll go through part of one story and then we'll get out on time, or close to on time on this. This story is found in the Gospel of John in chapter 4. So if you want to follow along in your Bibles, you're more than welcome. We'll start near the beginning of John here in a minute. If not, we'll put the verses on the screen and you can read them there. But this story is going to primarily take place in a region called Samaria. In fact, a sub-region of that around this area that was known as Jacob's Well or Shechem. And the other thing to know is the story doesn't start there. The story actually starts down in Judea, which would have been south of there, close to Jerusalem, when Jesus simply makes this comment that it's like they're going to travel back up to Galilee. But this area that the story we're going to look at is like halfway between Galilee and Judea, where he starts off. And the story starts off, and there's this one strange statement that I want to point out. And we'll come back to it, but I want to point it out and just acknowledge something here before we move on. So look with me in John chapter 4 and starting in verse 3. So it says, and this is speaking of Jesus, so he left Judea and went back once more to Galilee. So he's going to go from the south all the way up into the north. Then it says, verse 4, now he had to go through Samaria. Now, that's a little bit of a strange statement. If you look at it on a map, you might very quickly go, oh, I see what he's saying, because Samaria is in the middle, kind of up against the Jordan River. And so if you're going to go from down around Jerusalem up there, you would have to travel through Samaria. But that's not actually true. So we want to pay attention to like what John is saying when he says this. The Jews and the Samaritans, it's hard to get our minds around how deep the disdain was that they had for one another. It was religious, it was ethnic, it was cultural, it was deep. And they shared a lot of heritage. The Samaritans were Jewish, or at least part Jewish. They both used the Torah, but you go back a few centuries and everything goes different ways, and it goes sideways. And so the depth of their disdain for one another was that when Jews would travel this area, when they would leave the area of Judea, before they got to Samaria, they would actually cross over the Jordan River on the east side and then travel the length of the Jordan River so that they weren't in Samaria, so that they didn't have to come across any Samaritans. Then when they got north of Samaria, then they would cross back over the Jordan River and then go around over to Galilee and some of the other areas. That was normal. That was the regular path. In fact, probably in Jesus's day, very, very few Jews ever just simply traveled through Samaria because it was the shortest route. They would go around it. So when John says here, now he had to go through Samaria, something's going on here. And it's not because he physically had to do that, because that was the route. What John is getting at is there's something compelling Jesus. There was a reason in his heart that he does that. And you'll see what this is as this begins to unfold. Well, I promise we'll come back